So, I hope you all enjoyed lunch. I hope you got a chance to see our artwork and appreciate the posters that we have up. So now we're nearing, obviously, the afternoon sessions. So I'd like to hand you over to Scott, who's going to talk us through some innovations in quantitative.
Thanks, Will. It's lovely to be here. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say something critical about interviews. There are too many interviews around in the qualitative camera. And then say something about how interviews can be done in a more interesting way, like augmented by visual aspects, for example. And then, moving beyond that, we think about other ways of collecting qualitative data. I'm going to mention qualitative surveys or questionnaires and a story completion method. But mainly I'll be talking about online methods, because that's what I've been doing in recent years with various colleagues and students. I'll say something about different ways of doing online qualitative research, but mainly I'm going to focus on online discussion forums, and the extended example I have is around men and infertility. I've got two examples which are interconnected, which fortuitously map onto the themes today, which I didn't realise until today. One is on the lifestyle advice addressed to men who are infertile from online sources, so that's the culture bit. And the other study is about men discussing with each other online the kind of lifestyle accommodations that they're making to boost their fertility. And that's the experience bit, so that works, right? So, I edit some journals, and I'm sick of seeing standard or mainstream qualitative research, which is interviews plus some kind of thematic analysis. It's banal, it's tedious. I'm not saying that interviews and thematic analysis can't be done well. It's just too much of it. Okay, so that's the first controversial point. Sven Brinkmann is a big name in qualitative psychology in Europe, at least. He works in Denmark. And he's written this nice paper on how qualitative research has become part of the mainstream, and it's being subjected to an externalization process, and it's very standardized and mechanized, such that it's a lot of graduates coming out of qualitative research training are trained to do it in a very rigid, narrow fashion. So qualitative research should be creative as well as scientific, but it's this kind of scientific or pseudo-scientific aspect which is predominated. So the more creative or experimental qualitative research gets marginalized, and that's a problem. Sarah alluded to this paper in her talk, the Potter and Hepburn critique of qualitative interviewing. I recommend it. It's from a particular perspective, but one of their points is that I think they talk about when interviews are analysed, they are flooded with the preconceived categories of the analyst without that being acknowledged. And the researcher's role in the social interaction of the interview is kind of forgotten about, neglected. So, to sum up, a lot of qualitative research, and there's so much of it these days, we're kind of drowning in it. It's a very technical version of qualitative research, which almost kind of excludes the interesting bits, and often has to do with how you get papers published and what format they should be in, and we could discuss that later. But it's almost like a positivist, a quantitative version of qualitative research, often which is published. So, what can we do about this? I think Joe's going to talk about visual methods in more detail. Interviews can be enhanced with bringing in some visual elements. For example, photographs and photo elicitation, you might have heard of before. There are different versions, different terms for this type of work. Just an example, Cassie Phoenix, who works in Bath, did a lovely auto photography study where she looked at bodybuilders who were in their 60s and 70s, trying to really elicit their perspectives and experiences around this phenomenon. Because people frown upon older bodybuilders. You're not supposed to be doing that at that age, right? So she wanted to get inside their world and, you know, understand why they were doing it. And part of that was they were asked to take 12 photographs to say this is me and 12 this is not me. And then had a follow-up interview to go through the photographs, and the photographs act as stimulus for discussion and for expansion on topics. And so her kind of themes, if you like, were built around this notion of a body self, relating to the photographs as healthy, performing, relational, and so on. It's a really interesting study. So the argument is you can get more out of people if you have more dimensions, not just about talking. You can ask people to draw. I guess it depends on your sample. Some people might be up for it, some people might not be. Your sample might be skewed in a particular way for those people who like this type of thing. But, you know, you need to acknowledge that. In this case, from this study by Gilman, it's drawing on completion of the interview. Then the participant describes the drawings, and then somehow the participant accounts that the drawings are analysed as well as the interview data, and the drawings are analysed, but I don't know how you do that, so don't ask me, because visual stuff is hard to analyse. Painting is another option. This is from Jonathan Smith and colleagues. So in this case, this is the topic is around pain. They were invited to create an image representing pain before the interview. Then the participants were asked to interpret their painting as part of the interview. So what you get with that study is pain was seen as an object, sinister, violent, punitive, and the colour of pain was a theme, and that was kind of explored, and the kind of darker colours. So there are lots of possibilities doing interview research. You can bring in objects which are relevant. There's a nice paper by Sheridan and Chamberlain. And they talk about using materials as part of the interview process. It could be, I mean, they've got projects in household medicines and bringing objects in the home, letters, photographs, toys. And what they say is with the assistance of material objects, talk can become part of a multi-dimensional, multi-sensorial mode of representation and expression. So you're not reducing it to the verbal, it can be multimodal. So one of their projects is based on weight loss, and the interviewees could bring in photographs, you know, before and after. They could bring in diary entries, clothes they used to wear, and so on. And there's a nice little three-part conclusion they come at. The materials or the things can prove the story, can elaborate the story, or force a different story. So you'll get data that you wouldn't otherwise get if it was just a standard interview. Because these objects or images can prompt other memories and associations and take you in a different direction. You can do interviews in different locations, not just the standard interview rooms in the university or wherever. You can take These are mobile interviews, especially if your research topic is concerned with space or the environment. It makes sense. Why would you do it inside? Why not do it in the place which is resonant? I've got a PhD student, and Michael's going to examine this PhD for me. Jenny has had people go on a retreat, and the participants themselves they're doing diaries, taking photographs, but they're being interviewed in the environment as well, in the place which is relevant. And of course, you can do interviews online, and there's some papers you can access here. You can do it via email or using Messenger or Skype or something similar. So that is perfectly legitimate, and it's to be expected in this digital age. You know, why would you assume it's always going to be face to face? And also you can access a greater number of people that are geographically dispersed using digital methods. And for qualitative journals especially, and I edit one of them, we want papers which are interesting. You know, we want stuff which kind of gives you a twist on the familiar. It goes in a different path. And we say that in our aims and objectives in the journal. We are supposedly dedicated to exploring and expanding the territory of qualitative research. And other journals like the inferior American cousin called Qualitative Psychology, a forum for innovative methodological, theoretical and empirical work that advances qualitative inquiry in psychology. So we should be doing this, what you might call experimental qualitative research, bringing in different aspects. And for your references, like we've got in QRP, we've got hot off the press, a new double issue on art-based research, edited by Kerry Chamberlain and colleagues. So I think some of that's online at the minute. And in the past we've had special issues on visual methods, Paul Arabi and colleagues, online methods, participatory reaction research. If you're into participatory reaction research, Michelle Fine's stuff is incredible. But going beyond interviews, so you can think about doing interviews differently, or you can abandon interviews and do something completely different. And a method which is kind of emerging is qualitative questionnaires or qualitative surveys, because the standard criticism of our work is sample size is too small, right? Well, if you do a qualitative questionnaire, you can get loads of people. You can get breadth as well as depth. And if you do it online, you can reach a lot of people. And in the first issue of the journal, which in 2004, we published a qualitative questionnaire study with Sue Wilkinson and one of her colleagues on women's body hair removal. 678 sample size for qualitative research. Come on. No one can complain about that. So, and you do a thematic analysis. So this type of research with that type of sample size, it's not really about experience in depth. It's about the social norms that are operating with that sample in that context. And the social norms around women's body hair removal that they identified were, women's body hair removal was associated with being attractive, smooth, clean, tidy, feminine. One of my PhD students has done a qualitative questionnaire study, not quite so many, 103, looking at how men and women talk about or describe anxiety experiences. What does anxiety mean? Where does it come from? Give examples. How do they cope with it? So she's writing that up at the minute. We included, it's a men's health PhD, but we included women because in the literature it's too often assumed that men and women do things differently in terms of health. So we wanted to compare and contrast. And it turns out they're not very different. Jenny Bond, Victoria Clark and colleagues are really developing this story completion approach. I don't know if you've heard of that before. I don't know much about it actually. So what you do is you give participants a story stem, it might be a line or two or a paragraph, and then they just have to write something based on that, whatever. It's almost like free association, but it's extended. They have to write a story based on that opening. And one can be, there's an example from Victoria's work. Jane has decided to stop removing her body hair, so there's another body hair topic, right? And then you have to go with that and write something based on that stimulus. And a slightly longer one here. Thomas has decided he needs to lose weight, full of enthusiasm, and in order to prevent him from changing his mind, he's telling his friend in the pub about his plans. ... Then you have to go off and write something about that. So what's good here is that you're not writing about personal experience, but what you write will be informed by the social context and the norms around that area, whether it's in terms of gender or whatever. So a good reference here is the Clark chapter in this new book which went last year. I'll probably put the reference at the end. There's another chapter in that book. It's kind of similar to story completion, but it's using vignettes. And vignettes are used in social psychology research, for example, attribution. But they're taking it in a qualitative direction. So this is about reinventing more traditional techniques. I mean, story completion is kind of based on a psychoanalytic approach, free association. And vignettes is based on quantitative social psychology. Okay, but a lot of my work has looked online. So in this sense, you're not collecting the data is out there. So it's already available. It's arguably naturalistic. It's not produced in a research context with a researcher present. It might contain data which would be otherwise difficult to collect using more traditional methods. The sample can be more diverse as well. And when you do this kind of work, you realize that a lot of people are talking about themselves and talking to each other in psychologically interesting ways. And a really nice advantage of this is it's quite efficient. You don't have to recruit interviewees with people for focus groups. The ethics process can be quite light, although not always. There's no transcription involved. There are lots of practical advantages as well. So you can look at blogs, and a good starting point is Hoodway's work. So this is a seminal paper in this area. And for my own field of masculinity studies, there's a paper by Morris and Anderson which analyses 115 blogs, video, diary things, and then they do an interview as well with one of them. And their argument was that these young dudes online personify a more positive, soft, progressive form of masculinity. I have my doubts. I've watched some of these. My son follows some of these people. So this is one of the claims. Vloggers do not espouse the traditional form of masculinity. They are not sporty, macho, or even expressly concerned with being perceived as heterosexual. Instead, they present a softer masculinity, eschewing homophobia, misogyny, and aggression attributed to boys of previous generations. So that's one of their claims based on this analysis. But, the evidence is mixed in this area. But anyway, the point is, you can do this type of research. It's legitimate psychological research. You're looking at what's out there, what people are saying and doing online. Some of my students have looked at this website, Men Get Eating Disorders Too, and they feature stories by men about their experiences, which are very rich. So why would you go and interview people who are hard to reach anyway, when the stories are already there, just waiting to be analysed? And social media is another source of data for qualitative researchers. One of my students a few years ago looked at this Facebook group called Unique Confessions. I don't know if you know it. It is dreadful, right? It's just a kind of repository of lavishness and horribleness, right? And she analysed a lot of the content on there, and there's a lot of stuff around drinking, as you'd expect. It was quite depressing, really. I thought, I mean, it contrasts what Anderson was saying before in the previous slide, that young men have changed, right? Stories of sexual conquest, body shaming, all sorts of, malignant goings on. So, but the point is, it's a snapshot of that subculture, which you can, access and analyse and write up. And it's psychologically significant. It speaks to constructions of gender, interpersonal relationships, and so on. There's a nice study from New Zealand by Antonio Lyons and colleagues called Flaunting It on Facebook, and this is about young people, university students mainly, going out and nights out drinking and posting stuff on Facebook. So this research team did interviews in focus groups, but they also had snapshots of the Facebook content, and they analysed those and used some of those in the focus groups to stimulate discussion and so on. So it's kind of multi-method, multimodal, but they use a lot of the online content. Because that's what young people do, isn't it? They don't just talk to each other like we would talk to people in interviews. They're on their phones and they're uploading stuff and they're poring over it the next day. So that's what we should be doing. We should be going where the action is, if you like. Now, the main source of data I've been working with is online support forum data. There's a nice paper by Adam Gough, who he did his PhD here, which I examined a few years ago. Small work. And this is some of the stuff we've done around masculinity. So, with one of my students in Nottingham, we looked at men talking to each other about weight loss online. With another PhD student with Sarah, we looked at metrosexual men, how they talk about wearing makeup. So one of the studies there was the YouTube tutorial by a young guy showing other young men how to wear makeup, and we analysed the responses. It's called "I'm Metro, Not Gay," right, if you're interested. And I've done stuff on men and mental health, how men talk about being depressed in an online forum. The example I'm going to go with today is on infertility. And we've published stuff already on men in online forums, how they construct requests for help and support, how they do emotion online in that context as well for the men, and how they support each other in that environment. And just for a bit of background and context, what we know is that in terms of the research literature and in practice, in healthcare practice, men have been marginalised, relatively speaking, because the focus has been on women and women's bodies. But some of the research which has included men indicates that men struggle with infertility as well, but we just don't know much about it. And men haven't really been targeted for research in a dedicated or sustained way, so that's why we started to do this work. Often when they have been included as part of couple interviews, or it's been done in a clinical setting, but we wanted to get men's perspectives outside that clinical context and in their own words. So the first thing we did is the last paper there, we did a literature review of the qualitative research on men and infertility. Then that led to some research looking at men's accounts online. So they're just references for reference. So I'm going to talk about the latest work. And this is the culture and experience thing, which happily works. The first one is on, if you Google lifestyle, infertility and so on, we looked at the Google results. So if you can imagine yourself, you're an infertile male and you've been told that changing your lifestyle could boost your fertility. So you go on Google and you put these terms in. That's what we did, and you come up with these different sources of information and advice around lifestyle change. We analysed that, that's the culture bit. That's with men and masculinities, and we're hoping it's going to be published soon. I've never had enough stuff with that journal, but I think it might get in there anyway. And the other one then is how men talk to each other online about what they're actually doing to boost their fertility. So that's the experience bit. And that's just published in Sociology of Health and Illness. So this is like a media representation study, really. What you find from the data, one of the themes is that a healthy sperm goes with healthy lifestyle, right? And there's a sense of certainty around this, it's not disputed. Exercise increases sperm quality, diet and exercise boost your sperm count by 65. So it's all almost presented as factual. Men eating a higher amount of oily fish experience a boost to sperm count by a massive 65%. What's more, the effects are almost immediate, meaning that what you choose for lunch can pay off by the time you sample the evening just desserts, which is really cringeworthy, isn't it? But it's a massive 65%. The effects are immediate, so the claims made are slightly overblown. But if you're a man struggling with fertility issues, you might be sucked into this a little bit. A healthy diet and lifestyle can increase sperm production, increase the percentage of healthy sperm, and improve sperm movement, which is a nice three-part list, isn't it, Sarah? In discursive terms. So it's not just, there's many different dimensions to sperm health you discover when you go on these magazines. And then counter to that, if you don't change your lifestyle or you continue the way you are, like drinking, it could have devastating effects, it can wipe out sperm, right? So be warned. Now, what's interesting here, this is what we're really interested in. How are men and women constructed in this fertility lifestyle universe? Traditionally, it's women who are positioned as responsible for reproductive health. So we were wondering in these days if men are brought into that equation and are expected to do stuff as much as women. And the answer is yes and no. So, for example, it's easy for couples to focus solely on the woman's health as they prepare for pregnancy. However, preconception health and infertility is just as important for men, right? So it's just as important, equality. It's a fact that getting pregnant is not completely in the hands of a woman, not completely, hopefully. The man shares equal responsibility, and this is why men should be careful about their fertility. So there's a discourse of equality going on, where men are brought in and expected to do stuff as much as women. But then you get other stuff which is addressed to women, and kind of reinforces that notion that women are responsible, even if it's for men's lifestyle. Pass the following fertility boosting tips on to your male partner to make sure that he's fit and fertile when the time for getting pregnant is near. So it kind of undermines the previous equality position. It's important for couples to remember that baby making is a team project. There's absolutely no reason why your partner shouldn't join you, the woman, in eating better food, exercising more, and doing things he enjoys to relieve stress, all of which will improve the health of his sperm and fertility. So it's almost optional there for the man to do it if he wants. And another little thing we found was not only is having a healthy lifestyle good for sperm quality and motility and mobility or whatever, but it's good down the line when you actually have a baby. You'll be in a better position to look after it. Right? So it's another way of calling men in for this universe. Health during conception equals healthy pregnancy equals healthy baby. Your future child will be created from you and your partner's DNA. Preparing for conception helps to set up you for a healthy pregnancy and baby. Getting to a healthy weight will also make it easy to run around after your little one when you do have a baby. Again, there's certain baking structures. It's not if you have a baby, it's when. So there are plenty of great reasons to get into shape before trying to conceive. Again, notions of equality. The male partner has an equally crucial role to play at conception in providing the healthiest sperm he can for the future health of the child. So, fitness of the father is about the father being fit and the children being healthy in the future. Although it is the woman who miscarries, it's important that her partner is also investigated, because a miscarriage will also curb the sperm not as good as it could be. Okay, so more equality. But all this stuff was interspersed and undercut by more traditional discourse. So that's why this terrain of gender and fertility is complex and contradictory. So you find these little nuggets. Using these 6 fit and fertile tips, your partner can improve his male prowess, whatever that is. Nice euphemism. Start up his fertility engines when the time is right. So the metaphors are really, mechanistic, buying into traditional associations with man and machines and so on. Being overweight can affect your sperm and increases the risk of developing blood flow problems that may affect your erections. So sexual pleasure might be compromised, sexual performance. Smoking harms sperm and can reduce a man's sex drive. Testosterone is the hormone of desire. Did you know that? Focusing on getting a good sex life back is key to sperm health. Arousal is important as it affects the amount of sperm you'll produce, and you're not helping yourself by having mechanical, passionless sex. So you get this, there's more of it, man up, find it in steak, red meat, get the beef in. So really reductionist notions of masculinity, which kind of conflict with some of the other stuff, which is positioning man as responsible, health conscious, and concerned about the partner and the future child. This one's about a really narrow definition of masculinity, focusing on sexual performance, red meat, etc. So that's what's out there in terms of fertility advice. But how do men understand notions of lifestyle change, and what do they do in practice? This is the other study. So this is the one that's just published. And one of the things we found was that vitamins and minerals were invested with a lot of magic. That all these little things you can take are invested with so much hope and expectation, like a magic pill or magic bullet. I don't know if I've gone a bit nutty here with the vitamins, but here goes. I'm currently taking Wellman Conception, zinc, vitamin D, A, C, E, selenium, omega 369, Korean ginseng, and Wellman Conception for him. That's a lot of stuff, right? I like that. I don't know if I'm going a bit nutty here. That's fake inoculation, Sarah. Yeah, thank you. I had too low sperm counts, I got it on the supplements, and they quadrupled in 12 months. So not only are people taking this, but they're associating this intake with benefits. All men should be taking 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C per, I think that should be per day. It has a massive impact on your sperm. It takes 3 months to get right in. Also take well-known conception, only available on this chemist. It will make your sperm great or even greater. Lorginine is an amino, because that helps blood flow. I don't know about its effect on sperm quality, but supplementing it gives rock-solid erections. So there's a bonus, right? And we've come across that already before. So a lot of talk about these kind of supplements. So it was kind of the context is medicalization, isn't it? That infertility is a medical issue. You can take these medical or pseudo-medical substances to address the problem. But they also were keen to emphasize the lifestyle changes that they've made as well. It wasn't just about taking vitamins. And so they are emphatic in some of these claims. I've completely changed my lifestyle. And a Christmas without the usual treats will be strange, but the stress pressure from having this problem hanging over me, infertility, is well worth 110% effort. I'm going to get changed into loose clothes every night after work. I lay off the cycling for a couple of weeks prior to having it to provide my half of the equation, that egg transfer. So they're kind of hinting at sacrifices and emphasizing what they do. Started weight training, taking Proxseed. I don't smoke, drink, or do any of the stuff that causes these kind of problems. I've given up alcohol for 13 weeks now. That's a big sacrifice, obviously. I don't smoke, and I think I follow a pretty healthy diet. I do have one coffee a day. Okay, we'll let him off then. So they're emphasizing, they're displaying the commitment to the cause. They're positioning themselves as reproductively active. I'm going on a bit, I'm sure. I'm nearly done. So, in a way, you can see this as encouraging, as they're doing a bit, not just the women. But some women on the forum, it wasn't just male only, questioned men's commitment, which is really interesting. So, one original post said, he drinks over the recommended weekly allowance, but I feel that with our circumstance, you need to be more committed, and I feel like I'm forever waiting for the day and he takes it seriously. I feel as though I don't want to go into another treatment cycle without giving it 100% from both of us, which is what I've been doing in terms of diet, drinking, alternative therapies, etc. So she's doing all the work and he's doing nothing. In fact, he's making it worse by drinking, which affects sperm, as we know. And then some of the women respond to that. It winds me up massively when men will not do something simple like giving up drinking. When we have to go through so much, and of course, for women, infertility is more embodied. It's more, and there's more invasive techniques. And given that you've already been through ICSI, it's unfathomable that he would persist knowing that you have to undergo invasive, humiliating procedures so he can have a drink, and so on. So the men are making these claims. The women are disputing, implicitly disputing this by drawing on examples. One guy responded to this thread, as no other guys have posted yet, I thought I might as well. Drink has been a sore subject with me and my other half too. This discussion first came up when we were trying to conceive naturally for a year. She wanted me to cut down to the advised limits, which, let's be honest, is fair enough. Now, I'm not a massive drinker, but this wound me up. I knew she was right, but I hated having to watch what I was drinking all the time. Now that's a really interesting one. There's kind of concessions in there and your self-awareness. But it's really contested territory, what men are saying they're doing, what they're actually doing, how women talk about it. So just to sum up, what we see is that men are targeted for lifestyle change and the kind of policing, if you like, of what they do, of their habits. as well as women. It's constructed as a joint project, it's not just about women. If you go a bit more sociological, in sociology is lovely terms like lifestyleization. This is the kind of wider context we're living in, where everything is medicalised, and it's up to individuals in the neoliberal context to come up with solutions. We're seeing on the one hand that men are more involved in reproductive agency, but that's undercut by some traditional positioning at the same time. And to finish off with a note on qualitative research, just to recap. If you're at the start of your project, you shouldn't just be thinking about interviews and thematic analysis. You could look at what's out there. There's a lot of resources now around a range of, innovative methods, doing interviews differently, going online, using all sorts of methods which are appropriate in the age we live in. Because we don't just talk to each other face to face. There's all sorts of different interactions that we're familiar with now. And this type of research can be really creative and fun. I'm not saying that interviews and focus groups can't be like that, but there are possibilities. I guess one of the challenges of this type of multimodal work is how do you represent it, how do you publish it. Some journals are very traditional in their formats and so on. But this book came out last year, so you definitely need to start there. If you're kind of curious about how you might do qualitative research differently. Right, talk too much. So maybe one or two questions.
What about issues of data and reliability? So like online, for example, I learned off the top of my head like trolls. So you can just that sort of issue.
Yeah, it's tricky because online data can be quite messy, and you have to clean it a bit sometimes. So you have to be upfront about that, what the nature of the data is, and what you've done to get it into a state that you can analyse. With the metrosexual masculinity stuff, say the makeup study, there's a lot of positive reinforcement of men wearing makeup, but there's a lot of abuse as well. Yeah. But we weren't interested in that. We know that men wearing makeup is a difficult issue for some men. We were interested in how men who actively identify as metrosexual talked about it, because we didn't know. So that's just one example of how you can manage it, but it is something that has to be managed. One more maybe, before, because I don't want to encroach on Joe's time. Yeah?
It's a question to you actually. Are there enough PhD supervisors and external that are open to?
It's getting better. It's getting better.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
I mean, qualitative research and the community has kind of just blossomed in the last 15, 20 years. And I'm starting out with no one. Well, very few people. So you young people, the future of qualitative research, you can draw on old parts like me to help you. But there are people out there. I mean, there are people who are wedded to one particular approach and won't deviate, but there are enough effective people out there who are open-minded, I think. Right, stop that.